Hello. Hi.
How are you doing?
Hi. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I was trying to finish some laps on Gran Turismo, um, and now I've done that, and I'm available.
Is
How are you? Happy
is
Trans Day Visibility.
yeah, happy Trans Day visibility. Happy being visible. Were you racing in your car? Is Gran Turismo the game where you have your own car?
Yes. So a guy called
Such a
Drew
celebrity, mate.
Hounslow kindly, actually, he's done this the last 3 years. He's made the livery of the car that I'm racing in that year on a car in the game, and he's made my helmet and my
So
race
mad.
suit and
That's so
everything.
cool.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's
yeah, sorry, I
amazing.
should Charlie, for the people who don't know you, introduce yourself and why a car's exciting for you.
Okay, so I'm Charlie Martin, and I'm a racing driver, and I'm, yeah, I guess I've been racing for about 15 years, and I'm trying to get the momentum, the backing, and everything really to race at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is, in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, the greatest race in the entire world. So, yeah, I'm trying to claw my way there to the top, and yeah, trying to raise some good trans awareness and visibility and create some kind of social change along the way, really, just by educating people
And just
about my
being visible.
story and stuff.
Mm, that's amazing. It's really cool. I like I didn't know nothing about cars, as I'm sure that I've told you before.
Drive
But
a car.
I do drive a car. Um, just
There we
about.
go.
But yeah, it's just really cool. So what?
Thank you.
Um, I'm gonna ask probably really stupid questions. There's like different levels of sports, I guess, and there's different
Uh
levels
huh.
of car racing. And the one everyone's heard of, I hope, is Formula One. What kind of like level do you race at? Are they at different levels, or are they like next to each other and they're different?
Well, I guess like any sport, really, like you say, you have kind of, grassroots, which
Hmm.
is like club level, where you're just playing for fun and there's like not really any money. Um, and motorsports like that, you have club level, you might have a little bit of sponsorship, but it's kind of like, really at that point, it's people just trying to get into motorsport or doing it just because they love it. And then as you go up, you get kind of, it gets more and more expensive. So, you then get into the realms of professional racing, and depending on what you're doing, you've got different types of racing. So I do endurance racing, which is where you race from anything from 1 hour to 24 hours, and you have more than one driver and you share the
Oh,
car.
like Le
So
Mans. I knew you had more than one driver in that. That's a fact I know.
yeah, Le Mans, you have three drivers.
Okay.
So you drive in stints. So stint is like generally 1 hour, and the most you tend to do is like three stints together, like 3 hours back to back.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, Formula One is like what people think of as the pinnacle of sort of motorsport, and that's in terms of single seaters, that's the top level, of
Hmm.
course. And then in terms of endurance racing, um, yeah, I mean, you've got various championships basically, and it depends whether you're competing in the World Endurance Championship or the European Le Mans Series or the IMSA, or which is in North America. So there's various kind of series around the world basically. So that giving you too boring
No, no,
explanation.
it's interesting to hear about.
Yeah, and you'll get within that, you'll basically have what you call factory drivers. So that's where like a team, like I mean, a manufacturer like BMW or Aston Martin
Right.
or Porsche, pays those drivers a salary to race their cars. And those guys are like the really like the best drivers out there. And then other
Which
drivers
soon will be
generally have
you.
to, huh?
Which soon will be you.
Oh, I'd love to be a factory driver, but I don't know if it's going to happen for me. Really, I think I'm more of the kind of category of drivers that have to raise money to come
Right.
to a team
Okay.
to race. So you have
Mm.
to find that money through sponsorship, or you really lucky because you've got really rich parents or something, or whatever, you know, wherever that money comes from. And so yeah, but it's incredibly hard work, but it's you know, it's something I love, and there's nothing really quite like it. Motorsport's like one big family. So once you're kind of part of that, it's a very, it's just an amazing thing to belong to, really. So yeah.
It's really cool, and it's cool that you are able to be like so visible and, you know, out about yourself in it. I mean, I've seen
Thank you.
maybe BBC articles about it. Have you done BBC before? I've seen some.
I've done quite a bit.
Yeah,
I've done a fair bit on BBC.
Yeah, and you know, it's cool that it gets that kind of like exposure and stuff. It's just.
I've been really lucky. You know, in the last 2 years since I came back to England and started racing here and came out as trans, I've had fantastic support in the media, and you know, it's all been really positive as well. I think. Oh, hello.
Sorry, she was being a pest at my feet, so I picked her up.
Do you know my cat used to video bomb all my videos, but now she's just quite old and lazy. And she doesn't. She just sleeps all day and wheezes in my lounge.
She's sick of being a celebrity.
Yeah, she's like, I don't need to be a celebrity anymore. I'm just too big. She is literally quite big. So, maybe that's why she's camera shy. I just figured it out. Okay. Yeah, but no, the media's been really fantastic. You know, I've had a lot of interest, and I think it's really, you know, it's really important to share positive stories from the trans community, because ultimately there are so many positive stories, like, you know, people transition to make their lives happier and better, right? So why wouldn't there be? But unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of crap and scaremongery and all that stuff that gets put out there. So I think I've been really lucky that I've had a platform to actually I've had a platform, and I've been able to say things that hopefully educate people and that have, you know, have a really positive impact. So,
well, I won't cringe you out, but for the viewers at home, Charlie's one of the people whose YouTubes I found first when I first was like coming out to myself, and just by being a normal person was someone who broke down the bullshit preconceptions about trans people I had in my mind, because, you know, obviously my whole life I've had these feelings of, you know, gender dysphoria and stuff, not knowing the hell what they were, and also knowing that trans people are shit people who, you know, they're all failures, they're all like, oh, you know, terrible, they're all perverts, all this kind of stuff. And it's just what I grew up knowing because of Section 28, which we were talking about earlier. And, you know, just the only time you ever see a trans person in a film is when they're the bad guy or they're a joke, and that's literally it. And then, so I just knew I couldn't be trans, or I can't be trans because I'm not a loser and I'm not a failure at life and I'm not a pervert, so that's not me. And then I discovered your YouTube channel and a couple of other people, and just like, whoa, okay, maybe I am trans after all. Because, you know, like you say, just that there is rubbish about trans people in the media, but at the same time, if a trans person just does their life and does well at it, then that's such a positive thing that it's probably not newsworthy to a lot of people, but to trans people it is newsworthy. When I first found another trans woman who was a metalhead in a metal band, I was like, wow, it can be done, and it just like broke down so much for me. And it kind of sounds kind of lame to be like, oh, I couldn't be a trans person in a metal band until I saw someone else do it, but having someone there showing you it can be done makes such a difference, even if they're just being themselves and doing nothing special.
I think that's so true. I think that's really true, because you know, I think we're about this, you know, same kind of age, and I guess we've grown up in a time before the internet, before YouTube, and I think when you've gone through your whole childhood and all the trans people that or the limited amount of trans people that you've seen, as you say, were all characters on, you know, like either someone on the Jerry Springer Show or Eurotrash, or I don't know, someone,
Ventura,
whether they were a cross-dresser or something, who were, basically a trans person, for me, from the age of whatever, like 5, 6 years old, up to probably my late teens, even late 20s, the only trans people I saw were people portrayed in a negative way. Basically, like, being trans is not good. It's not normal. It's
not
wrong.
just not good, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, and if you're trans, you're not going to have a happy life. You're never going to meet someone. You're going to live on the free. Basically, it was like everything about being trans was shit and wrong, and people were disgusted by it. And it's just like, look, so you're obviously going to grow up with this completely horrific view of, like, God, this is who I am. This is something I have to keep hidden and hide from people. And I'm ashamed of something that actually is so intrinsically at the core of who I am. That's a complete headfuck. And that's why, everyone else grows up, I'm sure. Like, when I go in to do talks and say to people, I'm sure everyone in this room probably had some role models or some kind of heroes they looked up to as a kid. I didn't have that.
Me neither.
Those people just didn't exist, right? So it's why it's so important that, like, you being visible in the metal community is like, there'll be people who see you and are like, amazing, I can be into metal, I can play music. But it sounds so simple, but it is literally that important.
Yeah. For me, particularly with metal, I guess, I've been a metalhead since I was like 15. And I've always known, like, metal people are like my kind of people. I guess they're also dickheads. They're like quite crude. They say things what they're thinking, and I like people being open and honest. Metalheads are usually too honest, if anything, and they're very accepting. In general, metal people are. There's lots of people who were bullied at school. There's lots of people from all these different backgrounds. They've got this very international feel to it, but at the same time, it's just a fact that it is mainly straight white men. And there are whole branches in metal, like in the 80s with like Motley Crue and stuff, which is very misogynistic in vibe. And that did make me think, like, well, sure, they're accepting, but are they going to accept a trans person? And I was just terrified because, metal is, if someone said, what is this one thing you identify as? It's not trans or as a woman or as anything. It's as a metalhead. Like, that's my top thing. And I just thought, like, I do want to come out. I got to the point where I was like, I want to come out, I want to do this, but if it's going to cost me metal, is it worth it? And
yeah,
I still don't know the answer to that question, because luckily I've not had to, because after I saw, there's this lady in a band, I think the band's called Cretin, which is a very metal band name, and she just like came out and all of the fans were just like, oh, that's cool. I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe the just general metal vibe is I don't care, and like, that kind of is it. I mean, most metal people don't know, and if they know, they don't care, and they're just like, well, you're a nice person, or, well, actually, I disagree with you about Slayer's second album. So that's the thing that people really care about, and it was like, really, she made such a difference just by being. I mean, I like to say trans people doing boring things, because like, oh yeah, I play in a thrash metal band on the weekend. Like, it's kind of boring. Like, it's not like I'm, as big as Kanye West touring the world or something. It's like, yeah, I play in my local hometown or whatever. But it's just doing boring things can make the difference.
Well, it's not boring though, isn't it?
Because no, it's not.
Like,
it's not. It's just like
it's your passion. Yeah. It's the thing you love doing.
It is.
And these are the things that make us more, more into individuals, and the things we love, our passions, whatever they are. But yeah, like you said, so like you discovering that person is just that was a real game changer for you, right?
Yeah, definitely, totally. And also discovering your YouTube channel. I had this particular moment with your YouTube channel where I was watching things and you were just like saying the pros and cons of being out or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. And it was in my like coming to terms with it myself phase. And I was quite depressed at the time. And I was doing a lot of drinking and stuff. And I think it was like 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and I had work the next day. And I was watching this video, and I was just like, fuck, like, this is the moment where I know that this is what I want to do. And I was just like, oh mate, this is so rubbish. Like, why have I decided this now?
3 a.m. when I'm gonna go to work.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is important to just see like passionate people, even if it's not your own passion. Like the fact that you're smashing motor racing is inspiring for me, even though like cars schmaz. Like
Well, I think that's it. It's like when you see someone doing well at what they love doing. I think, again, this gets back to something that I talk about a lot in talks. It's that when you can't see yourself in that role, and you're talking about something that, whether it's a career or a sport or a hobby or whatever that thing is, but that, to get to that point probably takes a hell of a lot of hard work and, hours and days and weeks and months and years of work and everything, dedication. And if you can just see all these obvious barriers to doing that, then you're just going to feel like, well, what's the point in trying? Because, I'm just going to fail. You just feel like I'm never going to achieve that because I'm never going to be accepted. It's too hard. I haven't got the money, all these things. And that's it. I think that's why you need to believe that you can make it in that thing, to then feel like, yeah, I'm gonna put shit tons of work into this, and it might take me a long time, but I know that I believe in myself, and I believe that I can get there, and I'll be accepted and supported, and I'll be just as valid when I get there as anyone else. I'm not going to always be dealing with this kind of like, she's all right, but she's trans, so you're not going to take her seriously. You need to feel like you're going to be, you're going to be there on merit, and people are going to take you seriously. So
you might not get that impression from the internet, like especially if you do a lot of arguing on Twitter, you might think, oh, wherever I go, there's always going to be transphobia. But I mean, I can't speak for you, or either of you two, but in my experience, like occasionally you get it. But usually once you just turn up and do something and you're like showing everyone that you're normal and your friends are there, then it's not an issue. Like real people don't care. The internet cares because the internet's got all the shittest people on it. But when I go to a gig and, talk about metal bands in front of a load of people who don't know me, then as soon as it's clear that I'm not a poser, then, it's not a barrier for me. I mean, I'm sure it can be, but...
One time I experienced transphobia out in the real world. One time. And it was actually when I was with Katie.
Oh yeah, that was really grim actually.
Really?
Yeah, we had some incident on a bus with some guys who got really threatening, and it got quite scary actually in London at like 1 a.m.
Jeez.
It was really grim actually at the time.
Saved me and brought me McDonald's, so it was awesome.
Yeah, we saved the day with McDonald's, but it was really
Stuff
grim.
Stuff like that is scary. I mean, I'm lucky, touch wood, to have not really been in many sort of bad situations. But I mean, and I think as well, being a woman in situations like that where there's that threat of physical violence, it's horrible. And I think to experience that.
I think that situation was kind of half that. There was kind of this element of this guy kind of leering, and that's kind of how
I think that's what has started it. Yeah, he probably saw our legs because we'd gone to a goth night and we both like dressed. We're not goths, but we both tried our best. And I think that this guy probably walked in and was like, "Oh, I can see some legs," and then, clocked us, and that was it. But yeah, exactly. It was leering as well as anything else.
Yeah, that's how it started, and so there is kind of that overlap between kind of sexism and transphobia there. But I know part of that's because I think all three of us are quite lucky in that regard, that we can kind of move through social spaces without being noticed, and not everyone can. But even with that, I think 99% of the time it's not an issue, and most people out there just don't care. They're fine.
Yeah, I think that is true. And I know when I was in the really early days of transition, I remember I had this amazing therapist, bless him, who passed away sort of while we were having therapy. Not physically when I was in the room, but
gosh, that's good.
yeah, it was. But he was an incredibly like insightful person, and he'd say, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm worried about, before I was living full time and stuff, going out in public and people this and people that, and he would sort of rightfully say, well, the thing is, you've got to remember that most people are probably too obsessed with their own lives and what's going on in their life and in their head and what they're thinking about to even kind of register that you're even walking past them or something. And I was like, yeah, actually that really helped me to feel a lot more secure in those sorts of situations. But equally, yeah, I think that's a really valid point. When you're lucky, like you say, I think the three of us are probably quite lucky in that respect that I don't really sort of worry about people clocking me as trans as that being a direct kind of safety concern. But then I remember when I was like going through transition, and it was really, really scary. I used to be constantly like looking up the street, trying to spot people, in case I needed to cross the road, or just that whole kind of
me too.
alert.
I think when you first, sorry,
I'll still cross the road. I think that's more of a woman thing, though, than
for sure.
Yeah.
Thing. I think
yeah, it's true. I know, because I still do that on that in that way. And sometimes it's like there's not really so much difference, because although now I don't have to worry perhaps about being clocked as trans so much, I could still be in situations where I feel vulnerable as a woman. So actually it's it's just as scary in equal measure, really. Yeah.
I think generally, when some group, like a group of men or something, is looking at me, I'm much more wishing that they hadn't clocked me. Like, that's my top thought. I'm like, if you clock me, this is going to go worse than if you don't. But even if you don't, this could go badly. So I guess there's different layers to it and different aspects to it.
Yeah,
but, I think when you first come out, you spend a lot of time thinking about how you look and how you present. You spend a lot of time worrying about what other people are going to think, and you're so hyper vigilant for it because you're trying to work out what is life like what when you are a visible trans woman, like how good or bad is it, and you're so tuned into it that someone holds their glance at you for a quarter of a second longer than average, and you're like, oh, they've clocked me, like what's going to happen, but actually they just weren't even focusing their eyes on you, or they've just thought, oh, she's got nice hair, or oh, what the fuck's on her t-shirt, and I think it's very easy to have a lot of false positives on like transphobia at the start, which you learned to just like filter out as you get more confident. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge at the start.
Yeah, for sure.
So how long have you been? How long have you been out now?
Me. I came out in January 2012, and I started living full time in June that year, towards the end of June. So, come on, maths.
2012, 8 years, something like that. Coming up to 8 years.
Coming up to 8 years. Yeah, totally.
That's wicked.
It's kind of, I don't know, I feel old.
I think the weird thing about the trans community is, like, in most things, people who are older than you are more experienced, but in the trans world, like, everyone has their age, and they're also, like, how long they've been out, and you meet people who you, like, are more experienced to you in life, but then are a lot less experienced to you in transition, and vice versa. Like, I met like a trans girl who's I don't know, 24 or something, and she had been out since she was like 14. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, like, I'm much more experienced in life, but you've been a trans woman pretty much your whole life now. So it's an interesting dynamic, because she was asking me for advice, and then I was asking her for advice, like in different things.
That's a really interesting dynamic. I've not really considered that too hard before, actually. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in the last 8 years, I feel like a lot has happened in my life, and I've learned a lot. And maybe you could just say, well, that's normal going through your 30s, because it's a different chapter of your life. But yeah, I mean, it's been intense. I mean, how about you? How about you two? What have your sort of experiences been into transition? Have you been kind of equally similar times, or?
So I'm coming up to. I'm just checking my calendar because I can't actually remember. I'm coming up to 4 years full time in May. So I'm only like 3 and a bit in. And then 4 years hormones will be November.
Wow.
So what are you saying, Christina?
2 years, about this sort of time, 2 years ago, I came out of work, but I did the kind of long.
Me too. It took me a full year.
I did a year of being a very effeminate, kind of masculine presenting, but on the effeminate scale for well over a year. So when I came out, it was a slow transition rather than kind of a hard kind of, I'm going to rock up the next day as a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that. So it took me over a year to come out. Like from the first person I told to the last person I told, I can't remember how many it was now, 86 people in person. So it took a long time. So like some people in groups and pairs and couples and stuff, but it did take over a year. Pretty much coming out every single week, which is pretty tedious. But I did do the like hard transition where I was like, so the only clothes I had from the day I moved out of my parents' house till when I came out were either clothes I'd been bought or metal t-shirts. That was literally it. I never bought my own men's clothes ever in my life. The first piece of clothing I bought for myself that wasn't a band t-shirt was a dress when I was 25 years old. Because it just wasn't interesting to me. But it meant that I did have this like sudden change, like this like square wave edge, where I was like, I told work, I was like, I had this meeting with 30 people and I was like, by the way, I'm a trans woman and tomorrow I'm going to come in as a woman. At the time I was wearing like just a death metal t-shirt and jeans, and the next day I came in like wearing, like trying my hardest to look nice and wearing a really nice dress and stuff. And I think that was probably quite a change for a lot of people. So I guess the opposite of what you did, Christina.
Sorry, what was that? I was just in the chat, sorry.
I said I did the opposite of you, basically.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I did the kind of tank top, kind of very kind of camp, kind of dude sort of thing. And I lost loads of weight as well, so I was really slim at the time. And I piled that all on since the start of the issue. But yeah,
it doesn't look like
kind of pink tank top, kind of. And I've always had long hair. I don't know about you. So I going back before, the only metal place in Colchester where I live was also the de facto kind of LGBT place, because of we were kind of the rejects and kind of the outcasts of the rest of society. So we kind of all kind of congregate on the same place. So all the gay people I knew from that sort of time were also drinking in the same bar as me, even if they weren't really metal music. And I kind of
the gay scene and the metal scene often have quite a strong overlap, actually. In Bristol, they're next to each other.
Where I live, the Venn diagram is almost a circle.
All the gays are thrash as fuck.
And so there was kind of that thing where everyone, even now, I don't dabble as much in the metal scene as Katie does, but all the people I knew from that kind of era are still kind of from the same pub when I was drinking, and all my tattoos, all my recent tattoos were done by the husband of the guy that I used to drink with in this metal pub, and it's kind of
wicked.
Weird. But yeah, going back to what we were talking
about. That's that
earlier,
giant tattoo of my face you've got on your front, isn't it?
Like in Anne Partridge.
You promised not to tell anyone.
I passed out 3 times.
Her boobs are my eyes, so when she goes like this, it looks like I'm looking around.
It's funny.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
That's
So
so
what,
good.
Charlie? What projects do you have coming up?
What projects I have coming up? So is this being broadcast or is this just the 3 of us chatting?
It's being broadcast.
Oh, it is.
Is that okay?
I thought so. I know. I thought so.
Basically, we're totally winging it. It's like at the moment there's like 70 people watching, but it's going on my YouTube channel, so maybe some more people will watch. Having more people come in. When like in a bit we're gonna. I'm not totally sure who's going to be next. I'm seeing who's going to reply, but I'll kick you out in a bit, and then there'll be someone else on. Is that okay? I hope that you do that.
Yeah, no, I did. I thought that. I just suddenly thought I'd check just because you just asked me that question.
That would be such a disaster.
Oh God. And I hate this person.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a dick. I don't hate anyone. Well, maybe a couple of people.
Cool,
anyway, what projects have I got coming up? Oh God, do you know, like, it's been one of the crazy things actually about this period is that I've just been so busy, actually. So I'm trying to think. I don't know. My brain's a bit fried. What have I got coming up? Well, hopefully, racing at some point this season. Okay, so the season's all sorted, tied up. The Nürburgring 24 Hours is the big race of the season. All the other races are at the Nürburgring. So that is currently set to start around June, I think.
Is it going to be on?
Well, the 24-hour race has been put back to September.
Okay.
Le Mans has been put back to September this year as well. I won't be doing Le Mans this year because I mean it's just it's not even been like on the plan really in budget and stuff. But I mean the thing is at the moment just because nobody can really plan it, everything's a bit, see what's happening. So but I sincerely hope to be racing in June or before then even. What else? I've got some kind of interesting bits of work lined up. I'm trying to get into working in television this year as well. That's like a big thing that I want to do to sort of, I don't know again quite what that's going to look like yet, but I've got a few ideas and things I'm working on, and doing. Trying to think what else. I don't know. Get a tan, go on holiday.
I want to go on holiday so bad. My entire year revolves around metal festivals abroad and in Europe, and some of the UK big ones, which are the first ones, were just cancelled, and I'm absolutely terrified they're all going to cancel. I mean, they might do, and then what? Suddenly my life will be turned upside down if I'm not going moshing in France. What am I doing?
Yeah, but that's whenever I think of you stomping around a mosh pit, kind of.
I live to mosh.
With like a massive cut on your arm or something, barbed wire hanging out of it. I don't know.
I've had this tradition.
Like eating a woo.
Oh gosh, yeah. So here's a grim story for everyone. So one time I went to a metal festival and so it's a week long in Slovenia, and on the first day, some random guy in the pit just picked me up and threw me on the floor, completely uncalled for, total dick move, and this bolt that was just sticking out the floor went into my leg, like a full centimetre, and gored me, and there's loads of blood, and it was really terrible, and the team were like, oh, you're not allowed to go in the mosh pit for the rest of the week. I still did, it got infected, total stupid move. Anyway, I had a week off.
You still have 2 legs.
I still have 2 legs for now, and I had a week off, and then I went to another music festival, the next week, pretty much. It's 8 days later or something, in Czech Republic or Czechia, and so I had this big scab on my leg, and I was still going in the mosh pit there. And every time I went in the mosh pit, obviously the scab get knocked off. It got all swollen up again. Next day, wake up and it scabbed over again. So I did that, and on the 3rd day of this one, I woke up in the morning, scab's still glistening, trying to grow because it's on day 4 of trying to repair itself. And I was just sitting out in the sun, so we'd only got 3 hours sleep, lying down on the sun, and then someone was like, "Oh my god, Katie, look at your leg!" And I looked, and this grew like huge hole. I mean, it's like the size of like, I don't know, a 2p, like round, and then it's like a centimetre deep, and there was a wasp inside of it, eating a piece of my flesh out, like biting this little chunk off. And I was like, ah! I didn't know what to do, like, because I didn't want to squash it because it would sting me and then it would attract all the other wasps, because wasps release a pheromone when they get squashed that attracts other wasps to try and attack them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is really interesting.
On insects.
Yeah, I promise not to talk about insects all stream. But so then I just had to watch it and bit out this like little cube of flesh and like took it off and flew off with it.
Was it
like yeah, no, it just like disappeared, and I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to take the plaster off for the rest of the time. And now I've got this huge scar on my leg, which is a reminder every single time that a wasp literally ate a piece of me alive.
It probably fed its whole family for about a week. I mean, they do, but isn't there a thing where didn't they used to put maggots or something on rotten flesh because they actually eat all the bad flesh?
That's where they
so
start.
Actually clean the wound, like back when like sailors are pirates and that kind of thing.
Well, so maggots, like part of their digestion process involves like making the flesh into like a liquid so they can eat it. So they actually kind of like regurgitate up an acid, and they all share the same fluids, and then they like slurp it up. So rotten flesh works much better because it's not resisting. Whereas wasps are all about raw meat. So like when there's like a roadkill, wasps will get in there and chew off little bits. So this wasp probably wasn't interested in the rotting parts of me, just the live parts of me, which probably makes it even worse.
I just say before we carry on, it's trans diversity, not insect diversity.
Yeah, but I mean, trans people are alright, but like wasps, come on.
Hey, I've learned something about insects today. That's quite fascinating. So.
Good stuff. So does anyone in the chat have a question for Charlie? Charlie, do you have anything else you want to say?
I've seen two so far. One of them I think is a bit more serious than the other. But if you've got time for both, the first one that I saw was, do you put anything on your mirror in your car? Do you hang anything? You know, it's kind of
good luck charm.
No, do you know, I've never been a hanger of things off my window. But I tell you what, I can show you, which I actually found the other day. Literally, I'm going to get this. This is. I'm looking at my sim room now. This is my sim room. Here's my cat. How you doing, mate? Cat's so lazy. So this is
your video is frozen on
the
mine.
marmot, and
your video. Oh yeah, okay, we can see. Oh.
So when I was racing in France for 3 years, I had my truck that I kind of built. It was like a motorhome come sort of race truck, and I bought Sophie in. Well, actually, Sophie didn't have a name. One of my friends was like, what's your marmot called? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And they're like, so it's a genderless marmot. And I thought, I should give this marmot a name. So I called her Sophie. And she lived on the dashboard of my van. And I used to talk to her while I was driving around France. So there you go.
Oh, touring marmot.
I think that works. The other question that I've seen in the chat was, at Trans Pride last year, you announced your patronage for mermaids and spoke about how you written them as a child and how much their pride meant. Do you still have the letter?
I don't, sadly. I wish I did. I've moved house probably numerous times since then. And I guess when I wrote that letter, I was, being the age that I was still firmly in the closet, and I probably kept it in a very safe place so that nobody found it. And I wish I did. Yeah, I really wish I did. It's a shame I don't, but as with a lot of things, yeah, it's no longer in my possession.
Still, that's cool though.
Yeah, exactly. But it's amazing to be working with mermaids. I must admit, I'm very proud to be working with them. And they've got a DigiFest on actually at the weekend.
Oh, yes. I might have seen about that.
So I'm going to be doing some stuff on that. And
Gonna be DJing.
I think I'm allowed to say that. I'm DJing. So
amazing.
So yeah, everybody tune into that.
I'm only going to tune in if you put on some municipal waste. It's a thrash metal.
I'm going to what?
I'm only going to tune in if you put on some thrash metal.
That's all I mix.
Of course,
you know,
of course.
When I'm on the decks.
Yeah.
Like thrash metal. Going a bit Dutch there. Thrash metal. Yeah.
Or Sean Connery.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah. I don't really play any musical instruments, and I can't sing either. Don't ever ask them to do karaoke because I will clear the building. So.
I'm making a note of that. if ever we go out drinking.
You're locked up.
Oh, I can still see you. Who's still moving?
Yeah, we're definitely going to a karaoke night if ever we go out drinking.
Oh, yeah,
sorry, I
back.
lost everybody for a moment.
That's all right. Yeah, anyway, I might need to say thank you for coming, and we might move on to the next guest soon. It's been really amazing to talk to you. Yeah, just fuck off, mate. I'm just trying to, like, I didn't think anyone was going to say yes, and now quite a few people have said yes, and I'm trying to, like, get everyone in.
Okay,
so,
no, it's been great.
It's been really great to hear from you, and like the chat's been hype about you. I think you've got a lot of fans, so I think you're making a big difference. It's really great. Keep being visible. Don't ever become invisible. Well, actually, you can become invisible if you want. No pressure on anyone to be visible.
Maybe if fame goes to my head and I get really fat and kind of, I don't know, weird. I'll be like,
if you become what your cat has become. The fat celebrity.
Well, we all become our pets one day, don't we? So.
Oh dear. I'm going to be grumpy and shouting about food all the time then.
Or is that our parents?
Yeah, one of the
people look like their pets. I don't know. Either way, it's not good.
People do look like their parents, so yeah. But anyway, it's been really great to see you. Thanks, Charlie. Bye.
Bye.